Hey, Kevin, so good to see you. Let's talk about the myth about VA loans that I've heard. And I've heard a ton of them. So here's
Oh yeah.
one. First one that I hear all the time. People think that because the VA loan is 100% funded, there's no out-of-pocket cost.
Oh yeah. A lot of people think there are no closing costs or that the seller automatically pays them. There are closing costs, uh, which are traditional closing costs really for any loan, whether it be conventional or FHA. The overall costs for the most part are the same. What is different about a VA loan is it has a VA funding fee, and that funding fee is financed in. So the fee that VA charges, they let you finance that in so you don't pay it out of pocket. If you receive disability, they waive that fee altogether. So there may or may not be a VA fee, but there are still going to be appraisal and attorney fees, and you need insurance. So we got to do escrows for taxes and insurance, and there's still items out there that you're going to incur. Just depends on who's paying them.
Yeah, it's definitely out-of-pocket cost involved in that. Another one that I hear a lot, especially from first-time VA buyers, is that they actually believe that the Department of Veterans Affairs makes the loan.
So
They don't think they
correct,
need a lender because the Department of Veterans Affairs does
correct.
their loan.
Yes, VA does not lend any money. So the loan comes from mortgage companies. There is no mortgage company that is the VA, but mortgage companies can underwrite loans to VA guidelines and then submit that loan after closing for what we call VA guarantee. And so VA is guaranteeing the loan for default. So in the event of default, the lender is going to be covered. And that's why they're able to do 100% financing and not require a down payment.
Yeah. The other myth that I hear a lot is where people want to use their VA loan for investment properties, and they don't understand that you actually need to occupy them.
Right. So in the traditional sense, if I'm buying a house, it needs to be an owner occupied property. So your family could occupy for you, wife, kids, or husband, kids, but VA loans are for owner occupied properties. Now, where you could use it for an income producing property is if you're buying a duplex, you can buy up to a 4 unit. If you live in one unit, you can rent out the other three. So you can purchase a income producing property, but you need to occupy it. Now, if you buy a home and things change and you PCS to your next duty station and you want that home to now become an investment property, yes, you can rent that house out. You've met your occupancy requirement. You bought the house, you moved in, you live there, life changes, you moved out, you decided to make that a rental property. Yes, you can 100% do that.
However, let's say you're a mechanic and you want to buy a garage that has no living quarters, that would not work, would it?
No, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. The one that everybody talks about, right, is the barndominium, right?
Yeah.
And what makes the barndominium hard is it's hard to get an appraisal because there aren't many of them yet on the market. So it's hard to find a comparable to get a value. So,
Yeah. Well, what other myth have you heard?
a lot of sellers think that the VA appraiser is going to be tough on the house and on the value, and that VA loans come in at a value all the time, and that the appraiser is not familiar with the market. Totally false. The appraiser, 99% of the time, is the same guy doing the conventional loan. He's just VA certified to do a VA appraisal, and he's been doing appraisals. He or she's been doing appraisals in your community for as long as they've been appraising homes. So, there's no reason to be afraid as a seller of taking an offer on a VA loan. You're helping a veteran, and it is by far the best mortgage product out there. And so, fortunately for us, we are in the VA market, and so the buyers and the sellers are most likely VA. That's not an issue, but I do see veterans who move out to areas that are outside of military bases, and we have to educate sellers
Yeah.
sometimes.
The other myth that I hear from sellers, especially if you move out of our Fort Bragg area more up to Raleigh, where people are not that familiar with VA loans, there's a lot of sellers that think a VA buyer is not as well qualified as an FHA or a conventional loan buyer. And
Yeah,
that
totally
certainly
false.
isn't true.
Yeah, totally false. Totally false. So
Yeah.
it's possibly even easier to do a VA loan if you know what you're doing, and to qualify for it. But that's not a reason to be afraid of a loan. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about one of the myths is, I can't have more than one house. If you buy a house and you occupy it and you move out and you're moving to another station, you want to buy a second home VA, you have eligibility left over. And so new loan limits are probably going to go up to the conventional loan limit, now 832, 835 range for conventional loans. We'll see VA will typically follow for 2026. The formula is not what I'm about to tell you, but this makes the math easy. If the loan limit is, and the loan limit only comes into play if you already own a home. So if you have 100% eligibility and you qualify for a $2 million home, you can do a $2 million VA loan. Okay. I've done multiple $1 million plus VA loans.
Wow.
But if you own a home, now your next home to have no down payment and to finance 100%, the two homes cannot total more than the current VA loan limit. So I think it's like 832, 835. So, if you were at 400, you got a little over $400,000 that you can borrow with no money down. Now, if you were buying in the scenario, you got $400,000 in eligibility left. Let's say you want to buy a $500,000 house VA, you wouldn't have to put down the $100,000 difference. You would put down 25% of the difference. So $25,000 down payment could get you in that $500,000 home. Now, again, there's the government makes everything complicated, right? There's a 2-page formula to get to that eligibility number, but that's basically what it works out to.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you. That was great.